All right. All right. We got to get this thing started. All right. Yesterday we got everything torn down. I spent a lot of time cleaning everything up, getting all the seals together, eating a sandwich, taking care of other problems. Now we're going to put this mug back together. All right. So, for those of you that are curious, this engine had to be stripped down to the short block because it had poor oil change history. This is a Subaru engine from a Subaru engine from an Outback. It's got the FA style engine in it, so it is turbocharged. 100,000 miles on it. All right, let me blow some of this dirt out. Let me mute you so you don't hear it. Okay, let's try and do that again. Okay, so this is a Subaru engine. This is the FA style engine, so it has a turbo on it. Engine has 100,000 miles on it, and the oil changes were not done on time. Consistently not done on time. Like the first oil change we saw on the Carfax was at 8,000 miles. It should have been done, and the intervals are 6. So if I remember, it was like 8,000. Then the next one was at 16,000. Then the next one was at 24,000. And there was even one that went like 20,000 miles. So I don't know. But ultimately, what happens is you run this oil so long, even though the fluid level is correct, the oil has just lost all its properties and it starts going acidic. Okay? It goes acidic, it sludges up, it clogs oil passages, things don't work correctly. And when the oil starts getting acidic, it starts eating up all your gaskets. Okay? Eats up your O-rings, it eats up that gasket maker that we use. It'll even start taking out your multi-layer gaskets too. And that's what started happening with this car. Is valve covers are leaking, oil pan was leaking, oil pan adapter plate was leaking, aka the upper oil pan assembly. Internal seals were leaking. Um, Head gaskets started consuming coolant. All right, so the head gaskets were allowing coolant to be sucked into the combustion chamber, but it wasn't going the other way around. All right, that can happen just through thermodynamics. As the engine's cooling, coolant can seep in there, and then you fire it up, boom, you start burning coolant. Sometimes it goes the other way, where the combustion chamber leaks into the coolant passages, and then that's when you start overheating your engine, your radiator pops, you start spilling out coolant from the radiator side. So, yeah, this sucker was burning coolant, and you would think that you would see that coming out the tailpipe, but you don't. Not if it's in a small enough quantity, because the catalytic converter will chew it up, which means that this, I already told this customer, I says, you should prepare for the worst. This catalytic could be on its way out because catalytics do not like ethylene glycol that's in the radiator fluid. So he's prepared for a new catalytic down the road. Doesn't want to get one now because obviously catalytic converters are expensive, and it's not throwing a P420 code yet. But I told him he should expect that. Um, so you saw the other previous videos that I made about this vehicle. So because he was losing, because the coolant was being lost through the combustion chamber, the vehicle kept getting topped off with tap water, and eventually all that tap water just diluted out all the coolant. Okay. When I drained this engine, it was just straight tap water. And when I pulled off the driver's side head, I showed you all yesterday that the valve side of the head was just cooked white. The pistons were steam clean. Mm, not a pretty sight. Not a pretty sight. So the moral of the story is change your oil on time. If you have somebody who is not changing their oil on time, show them this. This is a very, very expensive repair. Just the parts alone. Just the parts alone, we are looking at maybe $1,200, okay, to tear this engine all the way down to the block. Uh, Ideally, I would have liked to have split the block, checked the crank, replaced the bearings, but that's not in the budget. There's a lot of things not in the budget, so don't fight me on it. I'm not the one paying for it. We just negotiated on what type of repair we would agree to do. Obviously, if somebody wants me to do some sort of asinine repair, I'm not going to do it, okay? If I don't think it's a safe repair, I'll walk away from the job. It's not worth it because um, I'm personally liable for this repair, okay? So you got to be careful when you are shopping for engine repair. Just because you found some shop that'll do it super duper cheap because they're willing to compromise with you, you got to think about, well, how are you doing it so cheap? Okay, what steps are you skipping? And here I outlined everything to the customer. I says, we're not skipping things, okay? I says, we're replacing all the seals along the way. We're tearing it down to the short block. You've done enough damage. We're not going to onesie twosie this. I'm pulling this engine once. I think that music's a little loud. Come on. There we go. I just need a little bit of a beat to get going. So y'all keep that in mind when you got engine repairs and you're fighting shops over prices. First off is, if you're questioning the price of repair, ask to see what the national standard is. They should be, every shop is supposed to be using a program, okay, whether it's through All Data, Mitchell, ShopKey, Motologic. Okay, and that outlines how many hours it takes to repair it. So you take that. Uh, the shop is supposed to take that into account. If the shop is exceeding that value, they need to be telling you why. If it's for just cause reasons, if you don't like their explanation, okay, go to another shop. But now you know what the standard rate of repair is. There are shops out there that will hustle you. Be careful. And if a shop is hiding the metric from you, like if they're just kind of saying, "Hey, that's what our system has," ask them if it's coming from a national system like Motologic, Shopkey, Mitchell, all data. Because shops, what they can do with their internal programs, like their cashier system, they can take that value and then they can fudge the number. They're allowed to do that. Okay, it's their business. They can do what they want. So let's hypothetically say this is a 20-hour job, and Shopkeys shows that, hey, okay, stripping this thing to the block and redoing it is a 20-hour job, but you're asking for 23 hours. Is there a reason why? Like, what are the justifications for the 23? Like, what are those 3 hours being used for? Don't be an ass about it. Like, don't try and make it a gotcha moment, because those people behind the desk, they may not know that the number has been fudged. Okay, somebody up in management might have fudged that number because they they're like, hey, my business isn't making enough money. We're gonna bump everything up 5%. And I know shops that have done that. Um, I vetted one shop for a customer, and they had a little bit of a markup on the labor hours, and eventually just came down to it's like, hey, the having a shop in this territory of the town, it's a little bit more expensive. So yeah, we had to mark it up so that way we can service customers in this area, and it was a higher end of town. That's why sometimes when you go to the south side of a town or outside of the metropolitan area, you can get work done at a cheaper rate because they don't have a lot of taxes. The facility's cheaper to run because it's just outside the city limits. But then, of course, you run the risk of just not getting business altogether because who's going to want to drive 20 miles outside of town? It's just hard to advertise to people like that. Some people can make it happen, some people can't. We're just gonna run these down. We're not tightening anything really. We'll come back and torque them. Oh, hi back to everybody that's saying hi. Thank you very much for checking in. Oh, somebody's rebuilding an EJ 257 on an '08 Legacy. That's a hell of an upgrade for an Outback. I don't get too many EJs anymore. Speaking of EJs, that's what you hear in the background. We just got one fired up. All my engine repairs now are mostly FA and FB engines. That's what people are driving. About once a year, I do see an EJ come in that does want to get repair done to it, but the ones that do come in with problems and they do need heavy repair, they can't afford it. Um, the you got to keep in mind we retired a lot of the EJs out in 2011. Okay, the STI maintained the EJ for a while, but the STI sales slowed down a lot, and even then, I think the last STI that I did was a 2018 or 2019. All right, and that bills for a for a block for the engine reseal kit and the block, all the hoses, because all those the EJ just tears up all its PCV lines and rubber hoses. I don't reuse any of that stuff. You get all new stuff. It's an STI. It's a performance engine. I'm not reusing anything rubber on that. I say that from experience. I just had too many of them come back 3 months later, 12 months later. Okay, they're not running correctly. Hoses are broken because they just get brittle. That's all it is. Generally, when I do those, I proposition to the customer. I says, hey, like we can use all new OEM stuff for the hoses, but I recommend this third-party kit. I don't like using a lot of performance stuff because it's just not good overall for the engine. But the Perrin silicone hose replacement kit, it runs about $1,000, but all your lines, heavy duty, high quality silicone, they'll never rot out. They'll last for a very, very long time. You'll get a lot of good mileage out of them. But yeah, an STI with a brand new block, that hose kit. I send the heads out. I don't do cylinder head rebuilds anymore. Just too much wear and tear on my back and my wrists. And honestly, the machine shops, they just get them done so much better and they can do a better job. And I was only doing them myself because there wasn't a shop within driving distance that would do the kind of work that I needed. Like I have to vet a machine shop. So I did find this one machine shop They skim them, they tear down the heads, they lap the valves, they vacuum check everything. They give me before and after measurements. They tension test the springs. They check for they check the diameter and the run out and the taper on all the valves and the valve stems, and that's exactly what I'm looking for. And they do it at a good rate. Like I said, it's just people don't ask for that kind of stuff anymore. So machine shops just stopped doing it. People just want head skimmed, throw it back on the car. So that machine shop work that can run about $700 to do all that, and that includes the valve lash adjustment. Then you got to pay for all my labor to tear it down. I think that bill came out to about $9,000. That's why you don't see a lot of STIs driving around, because they've all just been ridden hard. People ride them hard. They don't do the oil changes like they should. I mean, it's a fun car to drive. You take it to the track, you beat it up, but then you don't do any of the preventative maintenance you should do for a car that just went to the track. You don't. I go to track day and I just see these kids just ruin these perfectly good cars. Okay? They beat the crap out of them, and then they high five all their buddies. They park it and they shut it off. I'm like, holy crap! You're not gonna let that car like relax. You're not gonna cool it down. No way. When I had the money, I did track day. All right, my STI, I go track it, and then when I was done with my lap, I go to my pit or my designated parking area, let the car idle for about a good 20 minutes. And we even had a little portable generator running a fan in front of it across the radiator. Okay, I had a designated set of. I'm going to let that dude put his tires on. I can't think while he's doing that. I got a new stallmate, and he's got a really, 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 really loud impact. You done? All right. Yeah, then stubby impacts. They are powerful now, but man, they are loud. Yeah. So yeah, my track day setup. How did I learn all my track day setup stuff? Oh, easy. I asked all the people who weren't racing anymore because they lost their cars. I took their lessons learned. So you're done. You're done doing your quarter mile. You're done doing your autocross lap, or maybe you got 5 laps at the circle track. Check, 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 check. When you're done, you just don't shut your car off. All right. Go to your designated area. Let it idle. I put a fan on the front of the car across the radiators so I can be blowing air across it. And I let it idle for like 20, 30 minutes. All right. You got to let everything get lubricated, cooled down appropriately. That was a lot of stress that the car just went through. You got to let it relax. It's just like if you're an athlete or you're trained to be an athlete or if you run recreationally, okay, if you do a 100-meter dash, man, you're just not going to go lay on a couch and watch Netflix right away. No, no, you're going to do some stretching. You're probably going to put a warm-up suit on. You're going to want to keep your body temperature regulated because you don't want to cool down too fast. Same thing goes with your car. And then when I'm done with track day, change the oil every single time. And I know oil is expensive. That's why I don't do track day anymore. I went broke doing it. It's an expensive hobby. But I never blew an engine. I can at least say that much. But having a race car, or at least acting like you have a race car, that's a really, really expensive hobby. So I had a separate set of wheels for track use only, so I didn't tear up my daily treads. Um, shoot, you're. I think every STI owner learns this lesson the hard way. But damn, Brimbos are expensive to maintain. Okay, especially if you're having fun on the track. Because I was always out there, and within like 20,000 miles, my brakes were gone. And when you do Brembo brakes, you have to do the rotors. You can't machine the rotors. So pads and rotors, anywhere from just on the front end, could be anywhere from like 1,000 to 1,200 bucks, depending on if you caught a deal. Not to mention all the religious oil changes that I was doing to the engine. I missed it, but I don't miss the maxed out credit cards. On these stamped metal oil pans, I see a lot of them come back because these bolts don't get torqued correctly. People just like to grab their cordless tool and they smack them down and they're like, "Toy, no way, Jose." You squish that, you squish that gasket maker too much, it doesn't make a good seal. It'll start leaking. You got to use restraint. I think that's a 17. No, that's a 14. Damn it. Ooh, the shop is loud today. Yeah, these Lyle torque adapters are amazing for drain plugs. I love them. Ta-da. Mm-mm. All right. Ooh, someone's having fun in the tire pit today. Gotta get a new thermostat in here too. Woo! That thermostat is shot. Yep. Look at the seal on that. Put that in the pile. Every engine I do gets a new thermostat. You can't argue it. It's such a cheap part. Why fight it? It's actually replacing the thermostat is actually on the 100,000 mile service that I sell. Clean that up a little bit better. Just using a roll-lock disc. It's not as aggressive as a sanding disc, but it can be if you misuse it. That's why I like using it on that Milwaukee M12 polisher, because you can slow down the rip. You can control the rip and the RPMs, the ripplings to max out at 500. All right, we'll install that correctly. Put the weep hole at the top. Again, another very important item to torque correctly. That rubber seal needs to be able to flex and breathe. If anybody's thrown in chat, you got engine repair questions, concerns with your car, the best thing you can do is just go to the main channel page, click on the About, and there's my email. Send it to me in email, okay? Uh, I can't, I can't diagnose your car in chat. That's ridiculous. Too many of y'all are like, oh, my Toyota's making a weird noise. Hey, thanks for telling me that you bought a car from a manufacturer that's made 1 million cars. Which Toyota? How many miles? What year? What's that principal always say from Back to the Future? Think, McFly. Think. That's what goes through my head every time I see one of those ridiculous comments. I just go, God damn it, think, McFly. All right, we got the right cylinder head. We got the right cylinder head. Chick. All right, we got to get some torque specs really quick. So let me check this shop manual. Mechanical cylinder head torque specs. Check. Gasket, gasket. What am I doing here? Yep, I did that. All right. Start with 20 Newton meters. Then we're going to do 100 Newton meters. Then we're going to loosen all 360 degrees. Then we're going to tighten 20, tighten the 40. Oh no, it's 42. I misread it. 42. Using an angle gauge, tighten the cylinder head bolts 98 degrees. Then we're going to tighten again 98 degrees on the inside. Then we're going to tighten 48 degrees on the outside. Got my cylinder head gaskets. Got my cylinder head adapter. And torque wrench. Check. That's what I'm doing. And my half-inch is missing. Why is my half-inch missing? Hang on. I probably got it on another tool. Give me a sec. Well, we used it yesterday. Not that big. Not cool, man. Not cool. That's the 12 millimeter version. I need the 14 millimeter version. It must have found its way over here. That's it. Well, damn it, Joe. You can't put a cylinder head on. Well, you know how you find things, folks? You put away the tools that you're not using. That's how we find things. And then as we're putting things away, something is going to turn up. This is a huge delay. I'm not happy about this. It shouldn't be in this bin, but hey, it's always in the last place to check, right? Oh, it's not in there. Hey, I found it. There it is. Jesus. It's the one annoying thing about mechanic tools. They're all black. Everything just kind of blends together. All right, so we got to make up for some lost time now. Because this engine has to get built and it has to be burning some fuel before I go home today. So I am staying here until it is done. And I don't want to be here past 5 o'clock today. And what time is it now? 12? Woo! So I want to have a weekend to myself. We're getting ready for a big road trip to Michigan. We're going to be driving the cross track from San Antonio, Texas to Ann Arbor, Michigan. It's about a 22-hour drive. I used to be able to do that drive by myself in one shot. But when the wife comes along, she can't do it. That girl gets antsy. We have to make so many damn pit stops. Need a snack. Need to stretch my legs. Delay, delay, delay. And then she'll be like, "You've been driving too long. We need to stop. Take a nap." And I'll be like, "Fine, I'll pull the car over and I'll sleep in the seat." And she's like, "I want to lay in a bed." And I was, mm. Cylinder head bolts, they're okay to reuse at least once, as long as the threads are good on the block and on the bolts. Get them really clean. Ideally, I always recommend new cylinder head bolts every single time, regardless of what the book says. I'm just that kind of guy. But again, it's the one thing I compromise on for price. With a new set of cylinder bolts would have cost a dude $300. People know what they're signing up for when they decline things. That's why I always recommend the maximum amount of stuff. I think I was explaining that yesterday to y'all. And I got to get some oil. There we go. Yeah. So when I'm quoting out the engine repairs, I'll give you like two quotes. I'll give you the quote of like how I want to do it if you have the funds. And then we'll have the quote of, okay, this is the conservative quote, and this is what you're signing away. And then everything that is marked off, I explain the advantages of using a new part versus an old part, yada, yada, yada. It's a big pamphlet. I'm not trying to scare people away, but it's for my liability. So if something did happen, I can say, well, we did quote that and you did decline it. For instance, like a water pump. We can reuse a water pump, but I'll say, hey, the car has 100,000 miles. We already got everything torn apart. We can use the water pump, but truth be told, you're not experiencing any problems with the water pump right now. And some people are like, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, they don't understand what 100,000 miles can do to something. It's their decision. I'm just here to advise them. So, and I always make sure that they take at least a whole day to read that. Some people are like, yeah, sure, just go with this. I'll be like, no, no, there's a mandatory like 24-hour cool down. Please take the information, digest it, talk amongst your family, maybe do some self research. Because when I let people rush into it, if they made the conservative decision, they were like, oh, I went with the economy repair. And then something happens a year later down the road, and we have that, well, we did recommend this. They'll say, well, I was in a rush. So now we have that 24-hour cooldown period. It's kind of like buying a freaking gun, you know? We're just taking that impulsivity out of there. It's going to be a loud day today. These guys are going to put my microphone equipment to the test. But yeah, when people are wanting to spend generally over $5,000, I always tell them like, take a day, think about it. Don't make an impulsive decision. So I had another person. That one's skipping already. I might need a bolt. Yeah. All right, let's get her out of there. If your bolts aren't moving smoothly, get them out of there. Give them another shot of oil. Oh, much better. It's gonna be a noisy day, folks. That one's smooth. This one and this one. I think they're gonna be a problem child. I hope not. If you do a lot of engine repair professionally, I strongly encourage that you do invest in a set of digital torque wrenches that have the angle gauge built into it. It makes life so easy. And they don't have to be calibrated as near as often as a regular clicker. I don't like it. All right, we're taking her out. We're taking her out. Come on. I can't have any clicking. That's binding. Not my other one. Oh, my other blowgun. This blowgun. I want to do some OSHA violations here. I'm using just a 0.8 here. Some people use like a gear oil. I've seen some people use assembly lube. I'm going with what the manufacturer says to use, which is 0W20. If these don't go in, if these keep skipping, we're gonna have to get new bolts. Number one. Stand by for OSHA violation. That one's being feisty. Let's see how. Just put a different bolt in and see what happens. Okay. All right. One last thing. I think it's the bore that's giving me a problem. Let's not condemn these bolts just yet. I'm gonna turn the mic off. Did it turn on? Just making sure this stream did not crash. Woo! All right, that noise is done. Trust me, shop air, microphones do not get along. Especially if you folks got earbuds on at home. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. All right, we're gonna go plan B here. We're gonna give it some molly oil. Okay, much thicker stuff. You shouldn't be bottoming out so much. Just real expensive. Just makes a mess. Hands are sweaty from wearing gloves. Zip these babies in and out. Oh yeah, that went in good. That one wasn't so feisty. Now it's good. That one went in good. Much better. Yeah, it's Sometimes motor oil just a little too thicky, a little too thick, so you get some molly in there. That is the Stay Lube from CRC. Really, really good stuff. A little bit on the expensive side though. Generally don't like to waste it on cylinder head bolts if motor oil does the trick, but I guess the motor oil is just a little bit too thin for it today. Much better. So I've seen people use ATF, gear oil. Okay, now we're gonna go to 100. Let's just use the big one. Mm-mm. Yeah, these bolts are done, baby. They're all creaking at 100 newtons, and we're gonna be smacking these down to about 150. Y'all need to hang tight. We're gonna take 15. I'm gonna see if we got cylinder head bolts. All right, we're back. We got bolts. We have a slippery spot there. So new cylinder head bolts, they were on the original quote, but this was the one thing that we told them was a 50-50. I says if they don't creak and we can use them, we will. If they creak, you're getting new bolts. Fuck, we are all out of large gloves. I'm using medium gloves, and man, they are. Wait. That was loose. Loose. Yeah. I don't know if you guys can hear it creaking through the mic. Woo. Yeah, you can't have that. Not safe to use. Gotta make sure I stay in frame. Everything's on wheels. I'm sorry. I gotta stay. Every time I do one of these, I always find myself getting like closer and closer over there. I don't mean to. It's just everything's on wheels. So they're giving us a discount on these. Just so that we can be nice. I figured, told them, I said, we bought so much other stuff. Yeah, help me out on the price a little bit. Trying to stay in a budget here. Guess I'll use that as a trash can. Yeah, I know, folks, they will power through the squeak. Hey, they'll be like, oh, it's a little creaky. No, don't do that. If they creak, they're done. Like sometimes you got to go back and forth with them a little bit because maybe the oil didn't get all the way in there, and that's what we did. Now we washed everything off. We re-dipped it. Then we tried using a thicker based oil. Still not going to happen, so we're done. 2 strikes, you're out. Since this is already in the hole, I'm just going to keep using this. It's okay. I'm just wasting a lot of expensive product. But CRC makes really, really good stuff. Not a fan of Lucas. Lucas is a little too budget friendly for me. I know some folks, they grew up with Lucas. They swear by it, and that's fine. Swear all you want. Engine building's kind of like religion. Everyone's kind of got their own little secret sauce and flavor to it that makes it just more appealing to them. All right? Some people just keep doing the same thing because that's what their old man taught them, and that's what their old man taught them. For me, I'm going to use what works. I didn't have a good success rate with the old Lucas, so I let it go. Lucas is more affordable. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Nice and clean. There's a beard whisker there. That's going to throw my torque off. Oh, yeah. So smooth. So smooth. What is this? Like round 3 or 4? Delay of maintenance. That's all we can say. Oh, yeah. That's so clean. Like, dude, just pay the $200 for new bolts. Come on. Like, I'm not the one who has to put this on credit. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to help people out. I don't think anybody is liquid $5 grand for a major engine repair. I'll tell you what. Anyways, I had one funny interaction with a customer. Man, she just was not taking care of the car. Car needed a lot of work, and it was down for the count. Okay, it got towed in. We were waiting for her to give us a go no go on what she needed, and the entire time she's just complaining about money. Like, I get it. Yeah, we're asking for a lot. Engines are expensive, parts are expensive, and we were suggesting maybe you should inquire about a used engine. So we found a couple of used engines in town that were low miles that would have cut the bill in half. And still, she's like, "Ah, you think I'm made of money?" I hate it when people say, "You think I'm made of?" I was like, "You do know you left your car here, and you know what's on that dashboard? Like the back of the windowsill, all on the dashboard. There's nothing but PopCat dolls and Labubu dolls. I didn't know what the hell these things were. I had to ask somebody what the hell they were. She must have like $2,000 worth of toys as decorations. And I was like, don't, don't hustle me like that. I'm trying to be like, I'm broke. I'm like, maybe you should sell some of your toys. After this, we go back to 20 newtons. All right. Things are starting to be cooperative here. I was worried for a second. I had an old engine last year. It was it's an EJ25 single overhead cam. Came out of like an '09 Outback. Car had like 200,000 miles on it. It's on its. This would have been its second set of head gaskets, according to the customer. You know, props to them for like just wanting to keep the engine going. But I was like, I was like, I don't think it's worth putting head gaskets on a 200,000 mile engine, man. And he's like, no, no, no. He's like, I want everything to be original. I was like, I would put a block in it at this point, or I would just get a used engine and just call it done. I was like, well, some people have hit 200,000 miles with their Subarus, 250 I've seen. I was like, the piston bores, they just get worn out. Like, you don't want to put 5 grand into a repair only to have your short block go out in 20 to 50,000 miles. But that took a lot of convincing to be like, hey, don't spend the money. Like, I eventually got to the point where I was like, I'm not doing the job. That's when he was like, he started taking it serious, and she's like, oh well, if he doesn't want your money, maybe we should like consider what he's saying. Yeah, you should. Just calibrating the angle on it. So now we got to do 98 degrees on all of these. Really? 98 degrees? Make sure my head wasn't spinning when I read that. Yeah, 98 and 48. 98, 98, and 48. Okay. That is a lot of degrees. All right, get my footing good here. And this is the advantage of digital. See, I can take short, choppy steps, and it's got a gyro in there, so it knows what I'm doing. But you gotta take this engine stand and really kind of lock it into your hip because you don't want it to rotate out from underneath you. You'll get a false reading. 30, 75, 98. Lock it down. 88, 98, 49, 85, 98. Next. 51, 98, 44, 82, 100, 55, 92, 98. All right, they're all locking down very nicely. Okay, now we're going to crank the inside another 98 degrees. That pipe on the 38, 73, 99, 33, 60. Come on. Ugh. 141 newtons total. Whew. I told you we were going to be cranking these to almost 150. Okay, now the bottoms, the four outsides are going to be 48. $28, 50, 114, 115, 119. That cart's kind of kicking up. I got to be careful. I almost lost it. 119. All right, they all torqued down very nicely. Averaging 119 on the four outside, averaging 148 on the middles, just where I want them. Okay. Let's go ahead. I'm gonna try something here. I got an idea. Yeah, this is gonna work out pretty cool. Let's get a helper from Scootin'. There are engine stands that have wheels that you can lock in. I don't own one. Well, at least I don't own one anymore. Okay, this is going to drip a little oil from putting those bolts in. That's okay. I had one when I first started building engines because I was like, I want the best stuff. I tell you what, that stuff wears out fast. Within about a year of building engines, I just blew out those locks. And I had a little hand crank too to rotate the engine. That mechanism started wearing out and it had wear spots in it. Wasn't getting any warranty on it. So I rode it into the ground and then eventually scrapped it. And I've just been using these cheap Harbor Freight engine stands ever since then. Because one, I can buy new parts for it and they're affordable. Two, they're cheap. I think with a coupon I paid $50 for this. And I've had this for 7 years and it hasn't acted up, and I've done maybe 1,000 engines on it. So Sonics, OTC, if you're listening, I'm making fun of you. I was really upset that those companies didn't want to take care of me. And I bought a lot of stuff from them. especially like trying to get parts from OTC. My gosh, it's like pulling teeth. Like I have a 10-ton press, a press stand for doing, pressing out ball joints, transmission shafts repairs and whatnots. After about 5 years of use every single day, it started leaking oil from the jack. The seals were just going out. So I told him, I was like, hey, I need to get a rebuild kit for this because it was in the parts catalog. She's like, okay, cool. We'll send you one a week later. Hey, where's it at? Oh, yeah, we have the order. Okay, what's the status of this order? Oh, you should see it. It shows that you should see it within 3 months. I was like, 3 months? Are you kidding me? I got a, I got a shop to run, you know? Can't wait 3 months. And she's like, well, that's your only option. I was like, you suck. So then we were so desperate. I'm like, okay. I says, what about just a new hydraulic press assembly? I says, you have one of those? Yeah, we can get you one of those. Okay, before I put the order through, how soon can you get me one? We've learned our lesson with the first order. 6 months. I was like, 6 months? You kidding me? I was like, you guys are ridiculous. And I says, okay, humor me here, little girl. How much? I, I says, what if I just bought a whole new piece of equipment? How soon can I see that? Tomorrow. You guys suck. So I can get a whole new piece of equipment for like $4,000, $4 or $5,000 the next day, but I can't get an O-ring kit to service that pump within a week. They wanted 3 months, so I said, "Give me a jack assembly." They're like, "Yeah, that's 3 months too." I was like, "What's going on?" And that's where you gotta start playing hardball. And so I just ended up just handwriting a letter to their corporate, and I let them know, I'm like, hey, like I've bought all this equipment from you. Okay, we got $20,000 worth of equipment. We have a strong influence on what people buy. I need this part. I says, or I'm just gonna drop your product altogether and never do business with you again. Hey, guess what they procured? They found them seals. Within 4 days of mailing that letter, they found some seals. I'll be damned. They exist. Now I know what you might be saying. Oh, you could have just taken it to a shop. Hey, we tried that. We found a couple of hydraulic shops, and we took the whole thing to them. And I says, "Can you size some stuff up and fix it?" Oh, they were just doing the same thing we were. They were calling up OTC, and they're saying, "Oh yeah, it's going to take 3 months to get parts to fix it." And we were really hoping that they would have access to a catalog of infinite size O-rings that they could just put orders to, but they said that type of business is just dried up. They said they can't just open up a book and say, we need this O-ring size. Like, the world sucks when it comes to repairing stuff, I tell you what. Tell you what though, guys, guys and gals, if you're gonna complain about something though, don't be a Karen. Just explain the facts. Okay, and that's what we did. We stated the the business that we had done with the company. Okay. We explained the frustration with trying to, the frustration with a part taking 3 months to get, and how much we use this machine every single day. Like, we need it to work ASAP. We can't afford to wait. Now, why couldn't their low-end customer service figure that out? It's most likely because their low-end customer service, they're just a bunch of like retired salesmen from Radio Shack that don't know jack about the equipment that they're working with, and they're not entrusted. They're not empowered to figure things out. If the system says there's nothing they can do, then the system says there's nothing that they can do, and that's it's just kind of one of the downfalls that we have with our new structure of businesses. I mean, I run into that on a daily basis. Uh, Work so many other jobs that I'm just familiar with different departments. 10 years, ooh, the reflexes. 10 years military, bounced around some other backbreaking jobs. Really familiar with just how money rolls, how to get things when they say they can't be gotten, how to get things. And I've tried to use that little bit of influence here, and immediately just gets shut down. They'll be like, "That's not how we do things. You got to let it go through all the layers." I was like, "Well, you got too many rotten layers." Ah, I'm just bullshitting now. Don't take that personally. I don't think people nowadays want to be empowered to do a better job. I think they're just content, just doing the bare minimum. They were hired to flip burgers and build a sandwich a certain way, and that's all they want to do. So they can go home, play Nintendo, max out their credit cards, do a bunch of stupid shit. And I personally, I really like solving logistical problems. I had a blast doing it for the military. Trying to do that in the civilian world, they don't like that. I thought that was the weirdest thing when I transitioned from military to civilian life. They were like, "Hey, you can't do that." I'm like, "Do what?" Like, you can't just fix things like that. Like, well, I knew how to do it. Like, yeah, well, we have somebody that we hired to do that. Yeah, well, you're going to pay 10 times more money to get it serviced. We don't care. That was never the thing in the military. They were like, "Oh, you can do it?" Oh, hell yeah, fix it. I'll tell you the truth about another thing about transitioning from military to civilian life. The military loves telling their troops. Oh, when you get out of the service, the civilian sector loves buying up military people. They love you. They're like, because you're so well structured and you get stuff done. You know, you're dedicated to your job. I'll personally tell you, the civilian sector absolutely hates that mentality, 100%. So many different sectors I worked in, to the point where I was learning that like they didn't want to hire. They were intentionally not wanting military people. The only reason why they were seeking them is because military people already have a security check done, and to get a security background check done on a non-military member that doesn't have like a TS, a top secret, that's like $20,000 to $40,000 per new hire. So they're like, that's the only reason why we want you is because we can hire you. We don't have to pay for your background. They're like, but this whole devotion thing to your job, you're like, knock it off. That bugged the crap out of me. That was so demoralizing. Let's get these bitches. So we're at the back off stage of the bolts. We're gonna start tightening stuff back down. So I throw my back out. So that's my biggest advice to y'all young whippersnappers that want to get into the engine building industry. Make sure you do a lot of good back exercises. Make sure you're doing Pilates every week. This job will ruin your back, especially when you have to do this kind of twerking. $42 Newtons. All right, let's switch over to degrees. 98. How are we doing time? It's 1 o'clock. Not bad. I'm trying not to break this plastic pipe, because if it does break, that's $150 extra. I'm trying to keep it intact. 45. 94. 98. 63. 98. 63. 99. All right, they're all sinking evenly. Now we're going to do the inside, another 90 degrees, 98 degrees on the inside. These ones are going to be fun. $54. Topped out at $129. 71. Topped out at 131. The outside's going to be 48 now. 122. 113. 117. 112. All right. They are all in the green. I got about a 5% variance out here, but that's still within par. It's just how she clamps. They don't have to be nuts on for every single one. So this is the passenger side. Let's go ahead and get the passenger side cam carrier set up here. Another advantage that our customer is missing out on is machine shop work. Due to the age and mileage of the vehicle, it was recommended to let our machine shop take the cylinder head apart, inspect all the valves, clean the valves. check the spring tension. And then they ultrasonic clean the cylinder head, so this thing comes back looking brand new. It's pretty cool, along with resurfacing the head and all that jazz. But again, that would have been moolah. And what's the price of a new cylinder head? About 800 bucks. So yeah, it is more cost effective to rebuild them. Do they sell them as like a complete rebuild? Like, can you just get on a catalog and order things? Unfortunately, no. There's no Jasper support for this engine. Okay, these are not workhorse engines that you might see on the diesel sector, or like old iron block stuff for enthusiasts who like doing classic car rebuilds. I don't play that game. All right, now we're gonna need my shim kit here. That's the driver. This is our passenger side. I found these silicone ice cube trays for making square ice cubes. If you like having fancy drinks at home, I haven't been able to find them anymore. But man, they have served me well for about 10 years, keeping all my shims and rocker rollers organized for different engines I work on. Because I got a lid and everything. I got about 3 sets. Sometimes I'll tear down an engine, wait for an inspector. Again, putting on gloves are too small, take forever. Especially when your hands are just a little bit sweaty. So annoying. Okay, so these items are washed, clean, and lubricated, but the receiving holes, they are not. So in each one of these, I'm just going to be giving just a little touch, a little oil. I used to have like a little oil squirter for this, but they just don't make those things like they used to. Within like 2 engine builds, they just start leaking from everywhere. They suck. Uh, a coworker of mine ended up finding one at an antique show. Like, it's probably like 100 years old now. That thing still works like it's brand new. Absolutely amazing. When he paid a pretty penny for it, I think he paid like $70 or something. He just wants something stupid. But yeah, when I take these out, then I just give them a clean up, and then I just douse them with some clean engine oil and let them sit until I need them. Because when you're cleaning these rocker rollers right here, you want to make sure that they're packed with oil. Okay, you just don't want to lay oil on them when they're dry. They do need a few minutes to soak in an oil bath so that all those needle bearings get lubricated. I've seen too many times where folks they're doing the job correctly. They're putting the engine together correctly, but then they grab one of these brand new out of the package, and yeah, it has a light coat of oil on there just to keep it from rusting, but it's not enough. You should really just honestly dunk it in some zero weight and let it just chill for a minute. And that's what I do with these. It's one of those things that just isn't taught in car school anymore. There's so many things. I audited a few car school classes, and I just can't believe it's just not being taught anymore. It's 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 craftsmanship. They're not teaching craftsmanship anymore. And I get it. The days of like tearing things apart and fixing them is getting smaller and smaller. We used to rebuild water pumps. We used to rebuild alternators, okay? But then, somebody created a rebuild industry and it was just cheaper to just get a rebuilt part. And the practice of just taking something apart and putting it back together. Like steering racks. Oh yeah, that was easy. Strip down a gearbox, put new seals in it, set the backlash. Now if you got a now if you got a rack and pinion problem, they're like, yeah, just order a whole new gearbox. And you can't even if you wanted to rebuild it, you couldn't even get the seals. I'm sure if you were dedicated and you got out there on the intranet, you could find something. But I I don't have unlimited R&D at my disposal, so if if I can't if I can't source a replacement part to fix something, then I have to say we need a whole new assembly. Mm. All right. Yep. Can't work on anything new until this engine is done. Then the rules. I mean, I like the idea that they went with the Switch version of Metroid. They went back to the classic 2D side scrolling in a 3D verse. Uh, very well done. But what killed it for me was just the campiness of giving your character a voice. Like all of a sudden everything was voice animated. And folks, I can't do that. I can't do that campy Japanese voice stuff. No. Like all that hentai giggly stuff. No. So I was very, very disappointed in that one. I'm sure some people loved it, but I remain critical of it. It's like kind of like with the Zelda and the Breath of the Wild. Like I was super critical of it when it came out. The wife liked it. She played it for like a year. I went back like a year later and I tried again. And I gave it a little extra time. I was hoping that maybe I could mature into it, but I was like, nope, I can't do it. Like it's not evolving. Going on 2 o'clock. But Nintendo says they're going to take another shot at the Prime franchise. Uh, Not holding my breath. And I think I'm just kind of done. I think I'm just going to relive what I like and find something else. Now, Hollow Knight, I thought Hollow Knight was really, really good. I put a lot of good time into Hollow Knight, exploring Hollow Knight. I wanted to get all the upgrades. I like games like that. I like games that, not only is there an A to B storyline, but there's rewards for exploring. There's rewards for wanting to explore the lore of the game. And I'm not talking like bullshit like, oh, you can change your head style. That's a crappy reward. That's not what I'm talking about. Like I want something that actually helps me with the game or modifies the game in a slight way to kind of make it weird. You know, want some exclusivity, so to say. We got to get set up for the other side, so I got O-rings and a filter. That's an ACO ring. That's a 190. That's an ACO ring. It's a 101. That's an ACO ring. 190 chain cover. There's a cam carrier. Even though you've done too many of these, when you actually know what things are, not by looking at them, but actually reading the part numbers. Another style of Metrovania game that was really, really good. It's a great, uh, good game is Ori. Ori came out before Hollow Knight. And Ori did get a sequel, and the sequel was very, very well done. Okay. The sequel did not feel like a cash grab. As far as that Switch 2 system that came out, I think I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna pass on the Nintendo. Never been a fan of the Donkey Kong franchise, so they can have that. I don't know how that was a selling point. I was a Mario Kart fan. I do love playing some Mario Kart. I can play that for hours on end. And when I was deployed, that was our jam. I think being deployed for 18, yeah, we went through about 6 GameCubes and about 4 copies of the Mario Kart game. Just we were blowing out power supplies in the GameCubes. The discs literally wouldn't read anymore. Like we went through, we had just like a wall of Mario Kart discs that just no GameCube would read them. They just been played too many times. It was hilarious. I've never seen that in all my life. It was disappointing also because we did end up emailing Nintendo Entertainment, and we got a hold of Nintendo of America, and we got a hold of Nintendo of Japan, and let them know like, hey, our copy doesn't work anymore. Can we send it in and get a new copy? You know what's the first thing the motherfuckers asked us? Do you have a receipt? Now I wasn't a dick and I didn't play the oh poor military me card. I was like, fine, whatever. Just called the wife up and I told her, hey, mail me another copy of Mario Kart. We broke this one. I don't know. Do you guys think I'm going to be able to get this thing done and running by 5? I'm falling behind. I'm pretty tired. Trying to stay super focused on this. I don't take time off regularly. Like when I do, I'll just take like 10 straight days off. I don't do like onesie twosie days off. So just all I'm thinking about is just going home and staying home. Two, three, four, five, 6, 7, 8, and 9. All right. I may or may not have just run out of things to talk about. Better get all those shims in there before I forget. That'll suck. Did that once before. I was like on heavy auto My autopilot was on hard. Yeah, I made it all the way to the timing chain. And I go, man, these cams are spinning kind of loose. What the hell's going on? And then I looked in there and I was like, are you kidding me? Oh, that was a big mistake. I was like, completely missed a step. I had no good excuse for what I did there. That was just a straight old I screwed up moment. I had to tear it all back down, clean off all that gasket maker. And I'll tell you what, gasket maker, that is so hard to remove when it's brand new and it's already dried and sealed. Talk about just done for the day. That was a definite like I'm done for the day moment. Some of you might be wondering like, are we gonna do a valve lash adjustment? No, the guy did not want to pay for a valve lash adjustment as these are pre-cut measured shims, and each one of these runs about $25 a piece. And he was saying if it wasn't clicking and clacking when it came in, then it's not going to click and clack when it leaves. And I said, I hope so. I hope so. But not only is that more money, but that's also more labor time. Because that would have been an extra. I would have cut him a break at this point. Would have been like 1 hour labor per side. Because adjusting these, don't get me started. Sucks. But I don't mark things up because they suck. It's just, it sucks. I really don't like it when a shop just marks something up because it's hard. It's better just to be honest with the customer and just say, that's a really labor intensive job, or that is a very tedious job, and we don't want to do it. Just just be honest. Yeah, that's not the kind of work I like to do. I'm sorry. Recommend them somewhere else that likes to do it. Obviously, a shim adjustment on this is not like kick them out the door bad. Because I have seen shops where they just overbid a job trying to get rid of the customer because they're like, we don't want to work on this car, it's junky or whatever, or this job is just a really garbage job to do. So they'll mark it up, and then the customer bites, and then they're stuck with the job. So I have a friend. He does engine building as well, and he bounced between about 2 or 3 shops before he got to the one that he liked. And man, those shops, they would just do whatever the customers wanted them to do. And, and everything he said, like just how bad the place was, I believed it. Honestly, like if a customer comes in and he was saying like people would just come in with pickup trucks and engines just like sitting in the back of the bed, and the shop would just take it blindly, like yeah, we'll get it done. And we're like, wait a sec, you don't even know if that engine goes to that truck. Like you're just saying we'll do it. You let the customer procure their own engine. You didn't vet anything. He said it was just kind of nonsense like that. He was telling how the shop was just advertising that they'll do LS1 swaps on C bodies. So people just show up with these old ragged out Chevys wanting to get these whatever LSs installed, and he's like, I don't know nothing about this. And they're just telling him to just put the engine in, it all bolts up. What's the problem? Like, they didn't want to teach him. I was like, dude, you need to get out of that shop. That's one of those shops where they'll just take whatever comes in, and they're expecting you to waste all your time on the R&D, getting on forums and trying to make stuff work. He says that they had cars there. When he left, he had cars that he had worked on and finished that had just been sitting there for like 2, 3 months because the people haven't they couldn't pay for the work. And if they didn't pay for the work, then the owner was like, "Well, I can't pay you until they pay." And I was like, "Dude, you really need to get out of that kind of shop." I was like, "That dude owes you money. Like he hired you for a job, you did the job." I was really mad that he didn't take him to small claims court. I told him, I says, before you quit, you need to take him to small claims court. I says, because once you quit, you can't get that back pay. But I did the math. I'm like, that guy owes you like $1,000. I think it's worth making his life miserable. Yeah, if you're working in any of this mechanical repair and they can't pay you as soon as you're done with the job, get the hell out of Dodge. Because if they're doing it to you once, it's gonna happen again. Let's just drag it on. I need to stop and eat something eventually. I haven't eaten anything since 8 o'clock, so I know it's going to be weighing on me soon here. And I'm coming up to a good stopping point. I was hoping to be throwing on timing chains by 2 o'clock, though. I think I'm about a good solid 2 hours behind on this engine. And eating is just going to make me drag even more ass. So if you got any last minute questions, throw them up in the chat. As soon as I get this bolted down, I'm going to head over to chat, skim, see if there's anything relevant to answer, and get something to eat. In the meantime, my equipment will be recharging so I can come back. I'm going to have to go make sure that we are still staying on budget with this, so I'm going to have to talk to the advisor and the manager, because I did have to build out those head bolts. I was hoping to talk to somebody when I did get them, to let them know that I did have to order them and install them on here, because we were trying to help the customer out. Sometimes on these Subarus, you can reuse them, but if they have any kind of a fish bite where they don't go in clean, you don't use them. I always bill head bolts out, but you know, when they're trying to negotiate prices and keep the job up front, those are usually one of the things that they put on the 50-50 list. They're like, oh, it's a 50-50. Whatever heavy line work I do, I always make sure I have about a 10% retainer. I mark up, I tell the customer, I'm like, okay, so this is a $5,000 job. I need a 10% buffer, so $500. I'm going to mark it up for incidentals. You know, you find things along the way. You know, something that you didn't foresee going wrong. But we're using up a lot of incidentals on this engine. Like, everything's just rotten, too far gone. It's mostly seals, but yeah, head bolts. That'll chew the budget up. Thankfully, the dealership was being nice since we already bought about $1,500 for this car from them. They were like, we'll give you the parts at list. You know, you buy enough from somebody, you can get favors like that. All right, so yeah, I'm going to check out chat, see what's going on. Then we're going to come back. We're going to build the top of the engine, time everything up, get the front cover on, and sink it in the car. Losing my voice a little bit too, I noticed. No, nothing important in there. Chris says I have a FedEx delivery. Not too sure what you're referring to, buddy. Maybe you're talking to somebody else in chat. All right, we're going to close it out there. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. If I go back on today, it's going to be in a couple of hours. Like I said, I got to let the equipment recharge. I got to touch base with a couple of people. Thanks for hanging out and keeping me company.